Last week, the DY School District Administration presented their reworked budget for fiscal year 25. Described by Superintendent Mark Smith as a perfect storm, the district budget originally came in at over $81 million. Factors contributing to this year's larger budget were staff-related contractual obligations related to cost of living adjustments, the ending of federal COVID relief funds, upward inflationary pressure, and lower than anticipated state aid. Both the towns of Dennis and Yarmouth had concerns about the amount over the standard 2.5% override they would need to be approved through town meeting. Yarmouth Town Administrator Bob Rittenauer suggested the possibility of using the district's E&D funds, or essentially the district's version of free cash, to help offset the cost of the increase to the towns over the next 3 years. Here's a summary of the steps taken by the district to reduce the operating budget to a more manageable override for the towns.
We've got revised information on the state aid, as well as the choice and charter information. We've looked at additional ways to offset with some projected local revenue information that David's taken some real close looks at. We've done a lot of the work which we've discussed in detail around how to right-size the district, which has led to overall staffing reductions. The very last time we were here, we talked about how we've looked really closely at the supply lines, and we were able to find an additional $100,000 in savings there. The school committee voted at the last meeting to use $500,000 in E&D towards the operating assessment, utilizing that plan over the next 3 years to step down $500,000 this year, $250,000 in the following year, and then $0 in the third year. And that has gotten us down to, from where we started in January, to a revised operating budget of almost 77 million, 76,890,501, which is again a reduction of over $2 million from where we started in January.
Now, I just want to make sure I'm clear. When you went to the staff reductions, can you go back to that slide?
Yeah.
I just want to make sure I got this right. Because I saw a number 35. Is that correct? 35 staff reductions? That's a fairly significant number right there, I think. Yeah, so I appreciate it. I just want to make sure I'm reading the numbers correctly.
Yeah, like I said before, there's been a trend on the Cape for years of declining enrollment. And if you look at the trend line is of declining enrollment. However, in the last 3 years, DY has seen the number of students physically walking in the door has increased with a market increase in the last year. It's the highest number we've had in 10 years, and it's holding steady. And I just want to emphasize this point that I would hazard a guess that we're probably the only town department that's cutting 5% of its staff when we have the highest service level that we've had in 10 years. And if this trend continues, it's just something we're going to need to keep an eye on as we move forward for future planning.
Both Dennis and Yarmouth Select Boards expressed gratitude for the effort put forth by Superintendent Mark Smith to work with the towns and being willing to collaborate. After presenting the revised budget to both Select Boards on Tuesday, the school committee voted on the budget the following night.
I move that the school committee adopt an FY 2025 budget of $80,899,651 with a transfer from E&D of $500,000 towards the operating budget.
We've discussed this obviously all multiple times at these meetings and also in meetings with the towns. There were presentations to both towns yesterday. So unless we have any further discussion or questions, we'll do a roll call vote on this, please. Phil?
Yes.
Tomas?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Marilyn?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
And I vote yes. So thank you, David. Thank you, Maria. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Eileen. Thank you, everyone. This was a long and tedious process, but we all appreciate the work that you have all put into this, and I'm feeling positive about the relationships with the towns and moving forward, so thank you very much.
The extreme competition for real estate on the Cape is prompting local officials to find new ways to boost year-round residency. As the housing crisis continues, a Chatham citizen petition has been placed on the warrant, and if approved by state legislator, would allow the town to negotiate payments to property owners in exchange for restricting their homes to year-round occupancy. Last February, Senator Julian Sear filed similar legislation with Provincetown and Truro, prompting Chatham Select Board to send a letter of support to show state legislators that the Cape has interest in and a need for this program. Select Board members weighed in before voting to support the petition.
I think there are three things I want to say here. First of all, it's my understanding that Senator Sear was interested in having as many towns as possible adopt this or something like this as a show of support in Boston with the General Court. And so I think this is a good thing on that front. The second thing is that it's a tool in the toolbox. This is not a solution to the problem, but it's another aspect of the various things that we want to have in our, as I said, toolbox to begin to address the issues that we all know exist around basically developing more of a year-round economy here in Chatham as well as on the Cape. And then finally, this has a market mechanism to it. This is not something that's being imposed. This is just a vehicle that allows people to, as part of the process of either building or just in a private transaction, selling essentially a limitation in the deed for what presumably will be a market rate. And so I think on all fronts, this is something that is a good thing for us to do.
Shreen.
There's been several conversations throughout the year with Senator Sears making presentations to various towns. I know that this came out of Select Board member Sandberg in Provincetown had worked with Senator Sears to initiate the Cape town-wide sort of a presentation. So I'm really in favor of this. As Mike said, it is a tool that we can use. How the program gets set up and how it gets funded is something we will be working on probably going forward if it gets approved. But I'm in favor of it.
Additional questions or comments from the board? I'll entertain a motion to approve, or a motion to approve. Yeah. Recommend, right? Because it's automatically placed on the warrant.
Right.
So, yep. So moved.
I move to recommend the citizen petition article.
Second.
Okay. Further discussion. All those in favor? Select Board Member DeCastro.
Aye.
Select Board Member Davis.
Aye.
Select Board Member Dykens.
Aye.
Select Board Member Shell.
Aye.
And Select Board Member Metter says aye.
That's going to do it for politics this week. Back to you, Lauren.